How much of this stuff in Rock Bottom was intended for Matching More? How much was written?
Substantial amount of the tunes I had assumed would be worked through the group, that I would go through them with, whoever was in the group.
Because the different thing was, with the previous album, for instance, was that you'd chosen to take a back seat on the Little Red record. And you
yeah,
didn't compose. Were you going to compose most of the next one anyway?
Well, I compose as much as I can that's any good, And in a group, everybody hopes that between them or among them, they can come up with enough for a set or equivalent LP or something like that. And if you can't between you, then you should all go, become caterers really for a tribute, the Spice Girls tribute group, which is all right. Or become classical musicians, in which case you don't have to write anything at all. What a doddle. No, it's not, is it? Because you have to learn to play instruments. Yeah.
But there was a thread in the lyrics. I mean, the C topic was going to be, because on the final album it's not. It stops really after the first two songs, basically.
Yeah, but that sets the thing of it. Yeah. Well, it's not that deliberate. I think there's an underlying, almost sort of, you're sort of attributing to me kind of analytical and intellectual processes in the making of music, which would make me feel like a complete fraud, because I do what I can. If it sounds all right, I'll go with it until I'm bored and then I stop. It's very kind of like, I work like an animal, really. And usually, if it is good, it means that, in retrospect, you could sort of intellectually analyse why. But I can't do the intellectual stuff first. That has to come after. So in that sense, it is just it sounds pretentious, but it's just a force of nature, really. Mm-hmm. And you put your brains at the service of that force, I think. Just use your brains for technical things, How do I do this? How do I keep that in tune? How do I explain this rhythm to that musician? Just technical, all that. I reserve the intellect entirely for kind of quite humble, the practical solutions to how to let this stuff out. What's being let out? I have only the vaguest idea, like, a woman knows she's having a baby, but she doesn't know whether it's going to be an accountant or an alcoholic.
So when you set out to record the Rock Bottom album, was your idea of what you were going to do quite different to what it turned out?
It was just half a dozen very simple sketches.
Yeah.
I just find little sort of harmonic and rhythmic effects and word things that I think I would like to listen to if it was. I try and think, what if I wanted to put on a record that doesn't exist? I'm looking through my record collection and I want to hear something, and I look through all these records. I think I can hear something I would like to hear, but it's not any of these records. It's something else. Then that's the one I have to make. That's all. Just what I would want to listen to myself, and I just go with that. I sort of, how with cars and stuff, they sort of test models by dropping them off cliffs and putting them in car accidents to see if the bumpers work or something. Mm-hmm. Well, you have to sort of do with the equivalent of that with writing is that if you have like a rhythmic device or a chord sequence, and you think, oh, that's nice, that's a bit nice, and you think, yeah, right, a lot of things are nice, about 2 minutes, but if you keep playing it morning and night, different moments, for about 2 weeks, over and over again, if you still think it's nice, then you're onto something. But you have to sort of knock it about a bit.
On that particular album, it's different because on the more recent ones, except the last one, actually, you've played most of the stuff on your own.
Yeah, that's partly because I can't write music very well, and I don't know how to explain. I sometimes used to spend, in order to explain to another musician what I want. I used to do this on bass. I would explain what I wanted on the bass guitar to the bass guitarist. I thought, well, why don't I just have a bass guitar and do it myself? If you're in a group, you have to do that, but if you're recording, and there's a certain embarrassment as well sometimes, because sometimes what I want people to do is really quite simple. Not when you put it all together, but each individual part is very simple. Mm-hmm. And I get embarrassed asking sort of posh musicians to play something so simple. And because there's always a bit where they would want to show off or do an extra arpeggio just to show they could do it, And then I'd have to cut it out, and then they wouldn't like me anymore, and that would be all awful.